never want a serious crisis to go to waste.
If I could have gotten 51 votes in the Senate of the United States for an outright ban, picking up every one of them, Mr. and Mrs. America, turn them all in, I would have done it.
I have 2 words for you: predator drones. You will never see it coming.
It's time for On Target Radio, Chicagoland's only radio show dedicated to the red meat issues that affect your life, from gun control to freedom of speech. Now, debating, debunking, and discussing today's hot issues. Here are your hosts, David Lombardo and Gretchen Fritz.
Welcome to On Target Radio. Tonight, David and Gretchen's guests are Kristin Cross, Republican candidate for the Will County Recorder of Deeds, and Marlene Carlson, Republican candidate for the Will County Clerk of the Circuit Court. So be sure to give us a call at 312-642-5600. Or go to Facebook and like our page, On Target Radio, and ask a question there.
And now, from the seething cauldron of personal opinion, it's time for David's Rant of the Week.
John Adams, the second president of the United States, opined, "Our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to the government of any other." At the last presidential debate, Fox News anchor and political commentator Chris Wallace asked Donald Trump if he would accept the outcome of the election should Hillary Clinton prevail. Trump demurred. "I will keep you in suspense." Clinton called the response horrifying and said Trump was talking down our democracy. There are so many different levels of irony in Clinton's response that it would take a half a dozen more rants to sort them all out. But the pot calling the kettle black is the Cliff Notes version. Obama was so shocked and shaken by Trump's statement, he had to momentarily stop planning a golf vacation. And, of course, the media was apoplectic. Apparently, everybody forgot Al Gore's accusations in the 2000 presidential election that he lost due to voter fraud. The fact is, the Don is one pragmatic dude. Voter fraud in the United States are wary old acquaintances. As recently as a few days ago, Indiana State Police Superintendent Douglas Carter said in a local TV interview that his investigators have already uncovered several instances of voter fraud in the state, and based upon the knowledge, he believed it would be fair to say there was voter fraud in every state. Carter's comments came out of an ongoing investigation into voter fraud in 56 of Indiana's 92 counties. Real experts in the subject, meaning liberal university professors who are most likely on federal grants, claim voter fraud is almost non-existent. What could possibly go wrong with that? They are, of course, shocked the public opinion to be so wrong, and no doubt shaped by Trump and the Republicans' accusations rather than any factual basis. I mean, what about Hillary Rodham Clinton would evoke such a deep distrust? Well, that's fodder for another half dozen or so rants, but certainly her friends assure us that she's an honest, well-intentioned public servant. Well, those friends are still alive and wish to stay that way anyway. So, where would the Don get such paranoid ideas? James O'Keefe of Project Veritas sent out a tweet 2 days ago saying, "Anything happens to me, there's a dead man switch on part 3 which will be released Monday." O'Keefe went undercover into the Clinton campaign and secretly videotaped conversations. He has released videos of paid, highly placed Democratic operatives openly discussing with him how they are going to steal the 2016 election. Robert Creamer, founder of Democracy Partners, and Scott Fogle, National Field Director for Americans United for Change, have crafted very carefully thought-out schemes. At one point, Fogle boasts about he considers how the FBI would pursue criminal charges for voter fraud, then works backward to create fraud that's essentially immune to litigation. The corruption is both subtle and not so subtle. In 2002, the federal government passed the Help Americans Vote Act, giving states $3.9 billion if they would do away with balloting that left a paper trail and substitute with what was termed direct recording electronic voting machines. Suddenly, counting votes was taken out of the hands of the local community and transferred to centralized voting centers with political interest. It was Joseph Stalin who said, "It's not the people who vote that counts, it's the people who count the votes." The not so subtle includes uniformed members of the New Black Panthers wielding billy clubs and blocking entry to the Philadelphia polling places. More recently were initiatives to eliminate citizenship identification as a requirement to vote, and an attempt to outright grant voting rights to illegal aliens. It was George Washington that warned us of such problems, saying, "Experience teaches us that it is much easier to prevent an enemy from posting themselves than it is to dislodge them after they have gotten possession," which translates into throw the bums out. Go forth and vote for Trump, lest ye be forced to live in squalor and fear for the rest of thy days. And that, Gretchen, is my rant for the week.
Tonight's guests are Kristin Cross and Marlene Carlson. Both are Republican candidates. Kristin for Will County Recorder of Deeds and Marlene for Will County Clerk of the Circuit Court. Kristin Cross is a fiscal conservative with 9 years experience in the Recorder of Deeds office, 16 years experience as a real estate broker, was the Troy Township Clerk, and serves on the Troy 30C Board of Education. Cross has been endorsed by Will County Treasurer Steve Weber, the Will County Employees Union, and the Daily Herald. Carlson is running for Will County Clerk of the Circuit Court. She has a 20-year background in systems engineering and business management and was Director of Operations for the Law Bulletin Publishing Company. Carlson wants to modernize the Will County courts without raising taxes and fees, which would include the technology to create around-the-clock access to the court.
You didn't, expect me to remember that even though I wrote it, right?
Well, yeah.
Hi. Glad to have you in this evening.
Hi, thanks for having us. Excuse me.
I think we should probably start with just explaining what these jobs are. A lot of people don't really understand it. For instance, the Will County Recorder of Deeds. What does a Will County Recorder of Deeds do?
By statute, the Will County Recorder of Deeds, or the Recorder of Deeds, is the keeper of the permanent land records. No real estate can be transacted without the public documents the Recorder of Deeds records and keeps in their library. We have land records back to 1836, and we have federal land grants back to 1834. So it's well documented in the library. Real estate is the economic engine of Will County, and that economic engine does not function without the Recorder of Deeds office.
How big is the office? I mean, are there a lot of people that do that? I mean,
I believe there are about 20 regular staff, and I think she employs 4 management staff. Yes, it is being digitized, but not being digitized in a quick enough way. There hasn't been a major digitization project in 8 years. And my intention is, when I go in, is to digitize every microfilm record there is, because they become unstable. And once we lose those records, we lose those records. And digitizing them and putting them out there for access back to 1836 is something that I'm looking forward to. It's not going to cost the taxpayers money, because there is equipment in the office that can do that right now. And we wouldn't have to have any additional staff. So looking forward to doing that. And we have books that have old records that are moldy and are destabilized. So we need to get those digitized and kept up with.
Moldy books.
Moldy books.
Cool. You're listening to On Target Radio. This is AM560 The Answer. Give us a call if you want to know about moldy books. That's an interesting. I've never heard that before. 312-642-5600. So, I don't mean to. Does it matter that we have stuff that goes back to the 1800s? I mean, how's that ever used?
It is, and I see it in a couple of different ways. Title searchers. When we do transactions, land transactions in Will County, they have to go back 50 years or 75 years. And those records not all of them are digitized and accessible through the internet. So they have to come in the office and research. So it would be a streamlining process. It would be a convenience to everybody involved to have those out there. But you think about this, as genealogists constantly come to that office, people looking for their people. And if I can provide that to them in an easy way, why not?
We actually the board just established a historical landmark in Wilmington, and they had records of that house going back into the 1800s, and that's the type of records that people are looking for when they're trying to establish when was this house built, when was this landmark built, and what is the history of this, who owned it, what was it used for. We also did a creamery in Monique not too long ago.
Right. I mean, Will County's history is very rich, and most of it, those records are inaccessible to the regular public. You know, unless you know what you're looking for and you can go and find them. So I'm going to try to make that easy.
Well, that's interesting. See, you always learn something. I had no idea. I imagine some of that stuff is getting pretty crisp too. We're going to be back with more On Target Radio after a few brief messages, and you're listening to AM560 The Answer.
Stuck in traffic? We've got the answer from the AM560 Traffic Center.
Taking a look at the roads out in Oak Park, you have crews working to fire in the 700 block of Lombardo Avenue. Only major delay on the expressway is the outbound Dan Ryan between 75th and 95th. Give yourself 21 minutes from the Burns Circle down to 95th Street. Inbound is delay free. You're clear on both sides of the Edens. The Kennedy slows from River Road to Canfield through the left lane roadwork. 21 from the airport, just 10 from the junction. Wide open outbound in the locals and the express, and all the way out to O'Hare. You're looking good on the 190 extension of the Ike and the Stevenson. Clear on I-57, the Bishop Ford and Lakeshore Drive. No significant slowdowns on your area tollways. Westbound 8094 slows from Indianapolis Boulevard to Calumet through the roadwork. Right now, it's 65 degrees, fair skies. It's 47 and low, partly cloudy tonight. High of 55 tomorrow with some sun. Next update in 15 minutes on AM560 The Answer.
I'd say the same thing to a billionaire that I would say to somebody making $30,000 a year.
The Joe Walsh Show.
Yeah. We're working on it, Larry.
It's back up now. He just heard you.
Are we back, Larry?
Yeah. Well,
so one thing I'd like to mention about the problems with doing title searches.
That'll come.
Right.
Well, I'm going to ask you the question, what kind of problems are there?
Their systems, and there are one of the big problems is cross-referencing documents. Like, you can look up something by address, you can look it up by PIN number, you can look it up by name. You have to look up all three, because sometimes the records don't coincide with each other. You can for some, but it doesn't. You're not retrieving. So you can, everything has a document number.
Is that the office? No, Nancy Schultz-Rootz's office does that. I went somewhere to ask who lived at a residence.
It's recorded.
Is that in Nancy's office?
Well, not necessarily lived, but who owns the property, who's on the deed, or who has a mortgage.
The reason I say this is because I went in there. I'm going to say this quietly.
But then you can go register.
I went in there. She was running against Bible, right? Running against Biden, the guy, the Democrat who was in the county board, read Bible. And we got wind that there was no read Bible living in the house that he was registered. There was, huh? Well, here's what happened. He was, a Kimberly Bible lived there, and America, who was his wife. So they know me because in that office, because I used to be deputy, and we at the elections we guarded it and stuff, so they knew who I was. And I said, who's in the house? And she gave me names, and I said, are you telling me no read Bible? And she goes, you have to ask me a specific question. She just led me through the thing.
On Target Radio on AM560 The Answer with David Lombardo and Gretchen Fritz. Here's David and Gretchen with more interesting conversation on gun control, concealed carry, freedom of speech, and other red meat issues that affect your life.
And this segment is brought to you by the Will County Grassroots Division of the Illinois State Rifle Association. Join like-minded friends supporting the right to keep and bear arms in Illinois at 7 p.m. on the third Wednesday of the month at the Silver Dollar Restaurant in Elwood, Illinois. You missed it this month.
I had a caucus meeting.
I know, but
I was working.
It was titillating.
I was
exciting.
doing my job, preparing and representing the people of Will County, District 5.
As versus going to an ISRA meeting.
Yes.
Right. So our guests this evening are Marlene Carlson and Kristin Cross. Marlene.
Yes.
We talked about recorder of deeds. What exactly does the clerk of the circuit court do?
Well, it is a state constitutional office of a 4-year term that is established. That basically it's responsible for it is the official court document recorder, in summary. And it also has a very large budget. It also collects fees for the courts. So there's a lot of functions that it does have, but the primary focus is the document of all court records.
So do you store like transcripts?
Well, for example, if you're filing a lawsuit for, somebody stole your fish out of your fish tank, whatever, that document is a file that is entered into the court record, and then basically a case is heard on that file, and basically it's tracked by the circuit clerk.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So all of that funnels through one office?
Yes. If it has to do with the court system, any document that is, any motion, any action, any proceeding, any arrests, things like that, those are all recorded by, the circuit clerk.
And can the public just walk in and, like, see stuff?
Basically, some functions are, some things are accessible online, but the problem we have right now with the circuit clerk's office is you have to physically go to the circuit clerk's office to do a lot of the tasks that could be easily done in a different fashion.
Is it paper?
Than paper, yes.
That's paper? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So is that a big office? That probably is a big office.
Yes, there's over 120 employees, and it's about $8 to $9 million budget. It also is a revenue generator. So yes, it's the whole countywide budget's about $500 million, in and around $380 something thousand dollars, and $10 million of that budget is the circuit clerk. And
seriously, $10 million?
Yeah.
And I could be mistaken, but we just actually instituted some new court fees, and I'm assuming you're collecting those for us.
Yes. We can go real deep on that one, but the court fees, these are they were put into action in the last year, and there are a lot of unhappy people about those complaining about those court fees.
Sure.
And we can go into detail about that.
We'll
a little bit later.
Was that the room we went into when people were like standing on each other's heads?
No, those were the court reporters.
No, that was the one where they actually were standing on each other's heads.
Yeah.
That was that little tiny.
I was very uncomfortable in that room.
But the one room, though, it was pretty big,
well,
but they were...
Yeah, the back office of the circuit clerk was where they had, like, so many files.
Yeah.
The file rooms, yeah.
It looked a little chaotic.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a little overcrowded right now. That's why we instituted the fees, so we could build a new courthouse.
And that's true. And so when is the courthouse due to be complete?
We're going to start in 18. I think it's probably going to be finished in 19 or 20.
So it's still a ways away. Well, 4 years. But yeah.
I heard dig ground. I heard they were going to, it might be different now, but they're going to dig ground the latter part of 2017, right?
They may start doing some infrastructure.
It's like across the street, isn't it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're going to raise that building.
Yeah,
is that the first Midwest Bank?
Yeah, the old First Midwest Bank building is going to be raised, and we're building a new courthouse basically in the footprint of that parking lot.
And where's your recorder of deeds?
In a totally separate building. We were at 58 North Clinton, and the whole building was taken over by Will County Land Use. So we moved to the old Social Security building next to the post office, which was right across the street. They rehabbed.
The post office downtown.
The post office downtown, yes. And they rehabbed the Social Security building. Now it houses the Will County Recorder and the Will County Coroner, Pat O'Neill's office.
If I recall, that's an old building too, isn't it?
Quite old.
Is there room for her in the courthouse?
No.
No? I got some U-Haul boxes. Could help. No. So, it's a big operation. Kristin, you've actually worked in that office, haven't you?
For 9 years, I was middle management. I served as the archive manager in that office. And the reason that, I want to run first and foremost is I want to return the office back to Will County with open bid processes and reduction of high recording fees and internet searches. Our current recorder in her tenure, her two 4-year terms, has given out 2 no-bid contracts. The one in 2010, which she signed and eventually broke, at a loss to the Will County taxpayer of $100,000. And the second no-bid contract was handed out in 2014, and as of September 2nd, it has cost the taxpayers $516,000.
The county can't do no bid, can they?
It depends on the situation. Certain things we can.
It can? Because I just guess I assumed everything like that had to go through the board.
Well, it is. Ultimately, it's approved by the board, but certain things like software can be done without a bid. But I think, and what Kristin has been saying is the more ethical thing is to go through a bid process and let various companies show you what they have and make you the best offer.
Let the free market work. We let the free market work in business. Why don't we let the free market work in government? And that
has the free market ever worked in government?
Well, I intend to take that system out to bid. I intend to get bids so I can get the best possible product for Will County at the lowest possible price.
Listening on Target Radio, this is AM560 The Answer. If you have questions about Recorder of Deeds or about the Clerk of the Circuit Court, give us a call, 312-642-5600. So who are you running against?
I am running for against Karen Stuckel. She is running for a third 4-year term.
This is contract lady.
This is contract lady, and she claims that she has more to do.
I saw,
she has more
I saw that. I'm sure she has more to do. She probably has more than one friend. Who are you running against?
Her first name is Andrea. I won't give her any airtime.
She's
no,
not.
Andrea Chastain.
The incumbent, actually, Pam McGuire, retired. So two new people.
I didn't realize that.
Yep.
Oh, so you're running against a newbie too?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't know she had retired.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, that really kind of levels the playing field, doesn't it?
It's about the resume, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And
you have a business background, though.
Yes, and the technology background, which that the fact of the matter is that this office is heading very, very heavily into technology, and that's why we need somebody with a technology background to manage the office.
This would actually be a perfect time for somebody with a technology background to come in and advise
with a new building.
The Will County Board on what kind of technology, provisions to put into the new courthouse. So yeah.
My guess is, having worked in the sheriff's department all those years, that everybody's got separate computer systems.
To a large degree, they are. Yeah, we're going more. We've been buying a lot of software lately. We're buying ViewWise, which is a compliance and retention system for a lot of departments. And I think there's going to be more streamlining. We're working on getting a computer system, a software system for the state's attorney, public defender, the lawyers, the courts, for them all to use.
I'm just thinking, like, if I'm a detective, that both of you would have information that might help me in researching a case. But if it's not in a centralized system, I'm going to spend half of my life going from one building to another trying to track stuff down.
Well, one of the concerns about having open cases is that, the privacy of cases. So there is a certain amount of insulation that the general public needs to have. So there's kind of a fine line between accessibility and, the ability to do things.
But you can still have it, so you have to have a warrant or whatever. But then when you do, it's accessible to you where you work. We're going to take another quick break. We're going to be back after some messages with more on Target Radio. And you're listening to AM560 The Answer.
station to cover this election fairly. Does it seem fair to you? Or do we see more coverage about the problems of one side than the problems for the other side? When the so-called journalists put their thumb on the scale and attempt to influence the most important election of our lifetime, it makes you wonder, what do we have to do to win? There's only one thing left to do. Make sure you and like-minded people go vote. It's the only way to stop them from tipping the scales. The host on this station will keep reminding you right till the end. AM560, The Answer.
Fox News Radio, I'm Jane Metzler. The two major party candidates for president campaigning in two key battleground states. Donald Trump in Naples, Florida, criticizing the Washington establishment.
What a group we have, a group of real losers. That's what we've got. And the only thing Obama does, the only thing he does is campaign.
The president was out campaigning for Hillary Clinton today in Nevada. She was in Charlotte, North Carolina, criticizing Trump.
He's wrong for North Carolina, wrong for America, and people of courage and principle of both parties have stood up to reject his dangerous, divisive agenda.
Early voting already underway in North Carolina. It starts tomorrow in some Florida counties. 5 million people have already cast their ballots nationwide. Fox News, we report, you decide.
How can you get from here to there? We've got the answer from the AM560 Traffic Center.
Taking a look at the roads, the Kennedy inbound, you're jammed River Road toll to Canfield with left lane construction ending at Cumberland there. It's going to be 24 from the airport to the Burns Circle downtown. So just 10 from the junction, 10 back to the junction in the locals, 8 in your express lanes wide open, but 22 back to the airport with a slowdown through the left lane roadwork from Nagel to Harlem. The Dan Ryan outbound is jammed up from 87th down to 95th. You have some ongoing road work there, and you have some concrete debris reported at 95th Street as well. 17 minutes from downtown to 95th. Inbound side is delay-free. Westbound out of 8094 in Indiana, jams from Indianapolis Boulevard to Calumet through the roadwork there. Right now, 65 degrees, mostly clear, dropping to 47 overnight with some clouds. Sunny tomorrow, a high of 55. Next update in 15 minutes on AM560 The Answer.
If you're looking for a better shooting experience, imagine shooting virtually all your firearms the same day. You can move and shoot steel, draw from the holster, or compete in a 3-gun match. You can exercise that rifle out to 600 yards, even engage in a very challenging sporting clays course or a round of trap or skeet. Do all that and much more at the Aurora Sportsman's Club. Whether you're a novice looking for a basic course or an experienced shooter looking for an advanced course, even if you want to participate in your favorite shooting event such as IDPA or cowboy action shooting, spend an enjoyable day with the family at the Aurora Sportsman's Club, the only shooting facility in the region that offers all of that and more. If that sounds interesting, don't miss the next orientation and a tour of the Aurora Sportsman's Club in Waterman, Illinois. Call the membership department at 815-264-9000 extension 44 for information. That's 815-264-9000 extension 44 to join a one-of-a-kind shooting facility. The Aurora Sportsman's Club.
Safer USA, Chicago's most trusted name in firearm training, is offering beginners classes, tactical pistol and rifle, long-range rifle to 600 yards, and the most comprehensive Illinois concealed carry program available. AM560 On Target Radio co-hosts David Lombardo and Gretchen Fritz will prepare you to carry a firearm for personal protection, including firearm, holster, and ammunition selection. A comprehensive law review designed to keep you out of trouble and even how to deal with home invasions. Firearm, ammunition, holster, class notebook, and lunch are provided. Safer USA and the Aurora Sportsman's Club invite you to participate in this one-of-a-kind Illinois concealed carry program that also qualifies you for Florida, Utah, and Arizona non-resident permits. Find out what over 6,000 students already know at saferusa.com.
Or call 815-741-3474. That's 815-741-3474. Safer USA. Choosing to own a firearm is your business. Teaching you to own it responsibly is ours.
This is a life-changing message for anyone with sleep apnea who is on the go and tired of dragging around a big, bulky home CPAP device. Now there's finally a portable device that's as small as a soda can and weighs less than a pound. You can even add a battery that's as tiny as a deck of cards. It's the Transcend Mini CPAP, and if you're one of the first 100 callers, you can try Transcend risk-free for 10 days. So call now, 1-800-400-2199. Transcend is the world's first portable mini CPAP device. It gives you the freedom to sleep in total comfort anywhere you are. Our smallest and most advanced portable design ever, Transcend is so small and so light, you can fit it in your briefcase or purse to use anywhere you go. It's FAA compliant too, so you can even sleep comfortably while flying. To guarantee your 10-day in-home trial, you must be one of the first 100 callers to call minicpap.com now. 1-800-400-2199. Again, that's 1-800-400-2199.
You're listening to On Target Radio on AM560 The Answer with David Lombardo and Gretchen Fritz. Here's David and Gretchen with more interesting conversation on gun control, concealed carry, freedom of speech, and other red meat issues that affect your life.
October is Glocktober at Frank's Smoke & Gun. For every Glock firearm purchased, you'll receive 3 free gifts, including a Glock 4 pistol range bag, a Glock bench mat, and a box of range ammo. What a deal! Shrinks has dozens of Glock models in stock, from the Glock 42 in 380 ACP to the Glock 20 in 10mm. And with the largest selection of new, used, consignment firearms in Lake County, you'll avoid the Cook County firearm and ammo tax with just a short drive north. For gunsmithing, you know you can count on a family-owned Shrinks for over 52 years. So be sure to take advantage of Shrink's special Glocktober sale by purchasing a Glock and receiving your free gifts. Cigar lovers, be sure to stock from Shrink's Humidors. Visit smoke.gun.org or call 847-662-4034. Shrink's Smoke & Gun in Waukegan, your family-owned gun store since 1964. That's 847-662-4034 or online at smoke.gun.org.
Are Kristin Cross, Republican candidate for Will County Recorder of Deeds, and Marlene Carlson, Republican candidate for the Will County Clerk of Circuit Court. So what are your biggest challenges in your respective fields? Kristin, what's the biggest thing that you think you will face walking in the front door?
Budget shortfalls, for sure. Finding creative solutions with the money that we have and bringing more service to our residents. The challenges with e-recording, deeds and the like, providing an easy transportation of information to our county and township stakeholders, and instituting some trends in the office to streamline processes. I feel that all that is first and foremost in the Recorder of Deeds office. I'm here with Marlene Carlson. Our office can work hand in hand with this transportation of information and make it easier for our residents to get a hold of that information.
Well, you have a county board member in here. Can't you just write him a check?
Well, there's a limit, and we don't want to raise taxes because we're Republicans too. So, so we don't believe in that.
Could we raise taxes on Democrats?
Yeah, I don't think we can do that.
No. Marlene, that's as big an office as that is. What I suspect that you probably have a lot of challenges you're going to be looking at.
Well, the first challenge is to pretty much get a handle on the quality assurance issues with customer service issues and the level of technology that is currently in place. I know there are a lot of mainframe systems in that office, and I know that we can handle the underlying data of those mainframe systems by building a top layer in order to serve the customer electronically so that they can report to those systems. Rather than rip out all the existing systems, we can go in and build a layer to accommodate the electronic document recording mandate by the state of Illinois, 100% e-file by January 1, 2018. So my first and foremost activity there will be to work with the employees in that office as well as the Will County Bar Association and kind of get their feedback as to quality issues and customer service issues.
I've always wondered, when you're an elected official put in charge of a department, and particularly a big department, there's got to be issues there. I mean, certainly some of those employees are going to vote for your opponent. I mean, as an elected official, I would think, if you're coming in from the outside day one, how problematic could that be?
Well, I've learned a lot about the politics of this office, and basically being very, very project focused. I want to weed out the politics and just go to the bare bones technology, and if there's drama in the office, we need to figure out where the drama is, because it cuts down on productivity, and it also makes life miserable for those employees there, because I've learned that over the years that the circuit clerk's office is a revolving door that has a turnover rate of a tremendous, it just
Really?
Yes, and it's because of the employees there are treated so badly. The politics there are very bad, and so what my goal is to kind of get a handle on the politics and kind of weed out those issues to streamline things.
I think the interesting thing is, though, that people who have a job really want to do the job. The sheriff's department there's obviously politics that goes on in the sheriff's department, but when deputies are out on the road, they just do their job. They don't, you know what I'm saying? And I suppose there may be a certain amount of pushback from the political aspect, but I expect people who are doing the work every day probably just want to do the work.
Right. Absolutely.
I would think. Anyway.
Exactly. I feel that there is a problem with the family and friends plan. I go to work.
Yeah.
I want to work. I work because I have experience, and I am the person that is ultimately responsible.
There you go. We're going to be back, and when we come back, we want to talk just a little about the county in general, Will County, and put on your headset and listen to that one. That'll be interesting. But we'll be back with more on Target Radio, and you're listening to AM560, The Answer. So have we come up with things to say bad about the county or good or whatever?
Stuck in traffic.
Huh?
Just out over there.
I'm going to ask you what kind of problems, and you should weigh in. What kind of problems we see with Will County, period.
Yeah, the
family and friends.
The nepotism.
Yeah, I mean, and that has been pervasive. That has been pervasive. Yeah, well, absolutely.
There are family members of both on the Republican side that are being. I firmly believe that there has to be some, because of the way the Republican Party is. There may be people, and I don't want to say anything about the Republican.
Well, see, and here's the problem that I have, and I probably should be saving this for the discussion. Never mind.
What's that?
Nothing.
Sorry.
Nothing.
My issue is the family dynasty.
I was about to say something, but it occurred to me. I'll wait till we talk about it.
The nepotism is, I don't know about recorder of deeds office, but
Absolutely.
the one that's
Illinois State
in my
Rifle
face
Association has supported the rights and freedoms
here
of Illinois
it is.
citizens
And I'll
to
save that
keep
for
and
next
bear
week.
arms. For over
Mine is the
100
family
years,
dynasty.
the ISRA has supported
Mother
the use
was
of
recorded before
firearms
her.
as a
She
part
was
for
a
personal
good reporter.
protection
She was a real
and as
estate
a
broker.
fundamental aspect of national
You know,
defense.
she was of a
For over
different party,
100
but she
years,
was
the
a
Illinois State
worker. She
Rifle
handled that
Association has
office.
been
Unlike
supporting
this
you.
one,
Don't you think it's time you
who got
supported
in on
them?
the other side.
ISRA.org
And everybody's like, oh, that's
or
Marianne.
815-635-3198. The Illinois
And
State
the
Rifle
family and friends,
Association
she has her
supporting you.
family working there. She hired her daughter-in-law, had her sons working there.
Well, here's the thing. Look, all right. So if I'm running X or Y or Z, whatever it is, and you're my wife, my girlfriend, my daughter, my cousin, or whatever it is, A, I know you and I have faith in you.
Which is fine.
And B, it doesn't mean they're not qualified. And I get if you're hiring somebody, as unions will do, they'll hire somebody for a job and they'll go and sit in an easy chair 8 hours and do absolutely nothing. They just get paid. That I understand. That's not right.
This office, it's the flip side. That's what I'm hearing. I'm
Like
hearing that the management are the cronies and the unions are the ones that are having a lot of problems.
That's like unheard of.
Dad, the fire's not out. It's still smoking.
No, close enough.
Come on, Dad, do your homework. If it's too hot to touch, then it's too hot to leave.
I knew that.
You're never too young to get your smoky on. If you see someone in danger of starting a wildfire, step in and make a difference. Brought to you by Smokey Bear, the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council. Learn more at smokeybear.com.
Only you
can prevent wildfires.
You're listening to On Target Radio on AM560 The Answer with David Lombardo and Gretchen Fritz. Here's David and Gretchen with more interesting conversation on gun control, concealed carry, freedom of speech, and other red meat issues that affect your life.
And we're back with more On Target Radio. Our guests this evening are Kristin Cross, who's the Republican candidate for the Will County Recorder of Deeds, and Marlene Carlson, Republican candidate for the Will County Clerk of Circuit Court. Just taking a kind of step back, Will County, just looking at Will County in general. We have a board member, we have somebody who has worked in the Recorder of Deeds office before, we have somebody who has been a business owner in Will County. Do we see anything? Will County is a very big county. Do we see any sort of a systemic problem in Will County? Are there any really issues that we have, problems countywide, that's different than anybody else?
Well, I know that one thing that Kristin kind of touched on, and I think Marlene's touching on it a little bit as well, is that we would like to shrink the overall size of the county government, and it's difficult to do that without firing people. We don't want to fire people without merit. You know, we only want to fire people who really are not getting the job done, who really are not good at their jobs. And so we don't, generally, I think things work well, but that's not to say that there's no fat that could be cut. And so we're trying to we're trying to cut the size of the workforce by attrition, and that takes time.
Do we know what, I was just going to ask that question, do we know countywide what the attrition rate is? Is there
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. I'm sure there is. I'm sure there are statistics on that, but I couldn't tell you.
Because you're right. No employer wants to get a reputation of hacking people off the edges.
Right.
And if you can do it, if somebody's blatantly bad, that's one thing. But if you can do it through attrition, that's always going to be better.
Yeah.
In an office size that you're looking at, they're probably a pretty good percent. You're saying it's a revolving door anyway, so.
Right. Well, the problem with the revolving door is the training and the retraining and the training and the retraining.
Sure, you lose.
And it's a waste of money. You lose work hours, but it's a waste of money too.
It's probably a 3-month process getting somebody up to speed on the day-to-day activities, and if we keep losing people over and over and over. My opponent or the other side at one time made the argument that they're moving on to bigger and better things, but there's a reason why they're moving on to bigger and better things rather than staying with the county, because nobody quits a job because they're happy there.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
and you also, the other thing is you lose the tribal knowledge of working there.
Right.
You're breaking in somebody not just in the job itself, but in every company, every department has a personality, and it takes time to adjust to do it.
Right.
Yeah, and it's the people who do the work that run the county. I mean, we're department heads. We oversee the running of our staff, but it is the staff that runs the offices and and the county as a whole. So and as Gretchen said, the only way that I wouldn't cut anybody, it would be by attrition. And if I needed extra staff, then I would have to do a study on what extra staff I would need.
Sure.
But that's one thing that I didn't know until I got into this, and we were involved in budget processes, and this is my second year doing the budget, is that we give every department a budget. We basically say, here's your money for the next year, spend it however you want. So if you spend too much money on software, then you can't spend as much money on people. And we let each department head work that out for themselves. We don't micromanage it. So I think that's a good thing, but it can also lead to abuse, which is what Kristin's looking at. But I think it's a very interesting thing, and I do want to say that the county board, we have excellent staff. We have 5 staff members, and they are top notch.
So departments aren't locked to line item?
No.
Really? I assume they submit a line item budget.
Yeah, they give us a general idea of where the budget is going, where the money is going. But if they want to move stuff towards the end of the fiscal year, if they need to move stuff from one line item to another, we generally let them do that.
Yeah, I just, we always heard when I was with the sheriff's department as an auxiliary, we always heard, well, there's no money in the budget for auxiliary. We paid it for everything out of our pocket, or almost everything, not quite. Paid for our own firearms and stuff. And I always thought, it's such a small group. There could be a line item for $100,000 a year in a budget the size of that. But it never went anywhere.
Well, they didn't ask for it for one thing, and it didn't get apportioned that way. So it has to do with the philosophy of the executive, basically.
And that's why it's so important to get these elected offices in the same mindset as the county board and work hand in hand.
Sure.
Instead of working against each other. So it's really important for department heads like Marlene and like myself and the county executive and the auditor grab a hold of these offices and take hold of them and work with the county and board instead of against them.
Right, very good point. And, one startling thing that, if you just do a count of the countywide offices, the executive offices of Will County, 7 out of 9 Will County countywide offices are held by Democrats.
Is that right?
Exactly. You do the count and go, whoa, really? And the only 2 are the treasurer's office and Nancy Voots, the clerk.
Yeah.
So, and I moved to Will County because I thought it was more Republican, and 7 out of the 9 countywides are.
But interestingly, Will County is more Republican, not Joliet, but Will County is.
Right. Well, we did until recently. We did have a Republican sheriff, so that was one more.
6.
Yeah. Right.
But that is, I didn't know that. And because it's interesting to hear that, because when you got elected to the board, your vote turned the county board into a Republican controlled board.
Right. We were -2, now we're +2.
And it sort of gives you that, well, now, the Republicans are in control. But the fact is, the people who are doing the work are really in control. All right, so we're going to be back after a few more messages, and we're going to make a pitch when we come back. So make sure you stay tuned for more On Target Radio. And you're listening to AM560 The Answer.
If you're looking for a better shooting experience, imagine shooting virtually all your firearms the same day. You can move and shoot steel, draw from the holster, or compete in a 3-gun match. You can exercise that rifle out to 600 yards, even engage in a very challenging sporting clays course or a round of trap or skeet. Do all that and much more at the Aurora Sportsman's Club. Whether you're a novice looking for a basic course or an experienced shooter looking for an advanced course, even if you want to participate in your favorite shooting event, such as IDPA or cowboy action shooting, spend an enjoyable day with the family at the Aurora Sportsman's Club, the only shooting facility in the region that offers all of that and more. If that sounds interesting, don't miss the next orientation and a tour of the Aurora Sportsman's Club in Waterman, Illinois. Call the membership department at 815-264-9000 extension 44 for information. That's 815-264-9000 extension 44 to join a one-of-a-kind shooting facility. The Aurora Sportsman's Club. Balance of nature's fruits and veggies.
I had gout in both my knees, and it's gone.
Well, I'm pretty stupid. I should have ordered it 15 years ago. Best thing I ever got in my. It's the most effective product that I've ever bought in my life.
He had eczema on his hand, and it cracked for years. He did anything from doctor, every cream, everything, and 3 months on the veggies and fruit, it was gone.
They're just awesome. They keep asking me, what am I doing? I told them what I did with my clay.
And it's never occurred to me. That's interesting. That's never occurred to me.
I mean, the scales have tipped. You got $500 million budget in the hands of Democrats.
That's
pretty much.
751. That's 800-2468-751. Call now, 800-2468-751. Or go online to balanceofnature.com. Use promo code Chicago.
You're listening to On Target Radio on AM560 The Answer with David Lombardo and Gretchen Fritz. Here's David and Gretchen with more interesting conversation on gun control, concealed carry, freedom of speech, and other red meat issues that affect your life.
So I know that right now there's someone listening who wants to make a $100 million contribution to both of your campaign funds. Kristin, how do they get a hold of you if they want to help you or do something for you?
www.crossforrecorder.com. Find me on Facebook, Cross for Recorder. Find me on Twitter, Kristin Cross, Cross Recorder. And my phone number is 815-409-1961. My email is crossforrecorder@gmail.com.
She had that planned out. I'm sure she did.
You can find me on Facebook, Marlene Carlson for Circuit Clerk. Carlson, the number 4, circuitclerk.com is my website, and you can find me on Twitter as well. And, yeah.
That's it. It's good. It's good.
Stand by. Here's Gretchen with your action items for the week.
Illinois is one of only 14 states without term limits. Illinois policy has created a documentary that highlights the influence an office holder can wield in the absence of term limits. Madigan is the longest-serving House Speaker in the United States. Madigan, the documentary, can be seen at select theaters around Chicagoland. For theaters, showtimes, and tickets, visit michaelmadigan.com or use the link on our Facebook page. Do you enjoy listening to On Target Radio? If so, we're asking our listeners to help keep the show on the air by making a contribution, no matter how small. It will cost $16,800 to keep On Target Radio and On Target Newsletter in production for the next 6 months. On Target Radio is probably best known for covering local area red meat issues that affect your life and for keeping you informed on what's happening with respect to Second Amendment issues. But one of its strongest points is it gives local area political candidates who have limited budgets the opportunity to be heard on Chicago's #1 conservative talk radio station, AM560 The Answer. We have opened a GoFundMe account, which can be found on our Facebook page, On Target Radio. We urge you to go there, make as generous a donation as you can, and equally important, share our link with other pro-Second Amendment and conservative values websites and Facebook pages. The only way we can meet our goal is to spread the word, and we need you to help.
Meanwhile, we'd like to thank the following 16 people who've already stepped up and made contributions to the show. Thank you. Mark Akers, Eric Allen, Kim Barron, Dave Blasky, John Dindorf, Ed and Joanne Holba, John Iacobucci, Matt Listener, Lawrence Lloyd, John Lowry, Dave Mammer, Doug Mayhall, Charlie Pearson, Ed Ronkowski, Charlie Warfield, and Ralph Wilson. They jumped in. We're second day, and, we've already got 16, 17 people. Not quite at the $16,000 it'll take to run the show for 6 months.
We've paid for one show, basically.
We've got one show covered, 1.5 shows now. We got 1.5 shows. We need help. This is this is down to the bottom of the rope, down to the bottom of the Chinese rope. So anyway, what can I say? Next week we are going to have
the other 2 countywide candidates.
Gary Good, who's running for auditor, and
Lori McPhillips is running for county executive.
The great Red Hope, actually, the Red State Hope. Yeah. So maybe we'll get more Republicans in the program. It would really be great to see them get elected.
I would just be beside myself.
It would really be nice. Anyway, we'd like to thank Kristin Cross and Marlene Carlson for coming in tonight, and you for taking the time to listen to On Target Radio. Be sure to listen next week when we'll be covering more red meat issues that affect your life.
We'd also like to thank George Hoffman on the board, Jim Ekstrand, our video producer, and our sponsors, the Will County Grassroots Division of the ISRA, Schrank Smoke and Gun, the Illinois State Rifle Association, the Aurora Sportsman's Club, and Safer USA.
I had no idea there were that many Democrats running departments.
Oh, yeah. This is what I deal with. I go to work, and this is what I deal with.
we got to do something about that. All right, anyway, and as always, I want to thank Michael for making this all happen. And Michael, make a contribution.